Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our dear followers on all digital platforms, I'm pleased on behalf of Dr. Muhammad Abdullah Al Ali, CEO of Trends Researches and Consultancy, to welcome you to today's symposium titled The Muslim Brotherhood and Its Attempts to Return to Political Scene, organized by Trends Center in its interest of the Islamic political Islam phenomena and to deconstruct its discourse and the sympathizing discourse. Ladies and gentlemen, since the Muslim Brotherhood lost its incubation in most of the Arab countries and in the region, it has never stopped to return to the political scene, especially in Egypt, where it has been first established in 1928. The groups in stirring up for violence and the mutiny against the Egyptian state on 11/11 is the latest attempt to return to the political scene. Will this attempt succeed, specifically under the increasing divisions inside the group? What are the most important mechanisms adopted by the Muslim Brotherhood to return to the political scene once again? And what is the current strength of the group, especially under the death of some of historical leaders, specifically Al-Qaradawi and Ibrahim Munir? In order to answer these questions and other questions, Trends organizes these symposiums where a group of the eminent and best experts in this field will be talking to us. First, Mr. Muhammad Taqi, Mr. Muhammad Taqi, a political analyst and journalist in the United Arab. Mr. Sakr Khalid Mr. Muhammad Khalfan Al-Sawaf, researcher and writer, United Arab Emirates. Mr. Munir Adib, researcher in extremist movements and international terrorism. Mr. Jiyar Ashwan, head of State Information Service. In order to organize, each speaker will have 15 minutes, and we will start with the Mr. Muhammad Al-Taqi, and he will talk to us about the current change and the attempts to shuffle cards. At the beginning of my speech, I would like to thank Trend Center for organizing this symposium, and I would like to welcome all our dear colleagues, Muhammad Al-Sawaf, Munir Adib, and Mr. Jarashwan, and would like to benefit from the eminent scholars and speakers with us. At the beginning of my speech, I would like to extend my greetings for all participants and the organizers in Trends, and for all the attempts and efforts exerted by Trends Center in order to handle the nation's issues and cases in order to provide a clear-cut vision about the current political landscape. At the beginning, it is evidently clear that the call from the group for stirring up in 11/11 is there are other factors and non-state factors that other than the state factors that help the group to return back to the political scene in order to destabilize Egypt. I would like to mention here that any attempt to target Egypt is an attempt to target the region's states, and it has been evidently clear for the recent years when the Egyptian people and the Egyptian military managed to oust the Muslim Brotherhood. I would like to refer here that the external support for the group under the statement of Cairo and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the misaffairs or the against Turkey, when Turkey has incubated the Muslim Brotherhood, and the call for 11/11 will be in synchronization with the COP27 that will be held in Sharm el-Sheikh. Here, the Muslim Brotherhood and their supporters would like to defame Egypt and embarrass it in front of the whole world and to make it appear as a failing state. So I would like here to refer that to a very important note that the choice of 11/11 for demonstrations and to reconstruct the creative choice by the group. 11/11 is not chosen haphazardly or by chance. It is selectively chosen to choose that as a slogan for the Rab'a slogan, which is the 4-1-1-1-1. So this is a slogan for the Rab'a. Here, the terrorist Muslim Brotherhood tries to convince their followers who are isolated and they have misbeliefs about religions. That 11/11 uh, is on Friday. It is a message from God. I would like here to refer that this is not the first time that the modern brotherhood carry out to shuffle the cards and shuffle the days and numbers and try to depict it, to make it appear as if it's a message from God in order to spread chaos, as if to, and to return it to the Middle Ages where it's the most dangerous groups that has appeared in the Middle East, which is Al-Hashashin or the Assassin. This Al-Assassin is just in the Middle Ages, but the Muslim Brotherhood are the assassin of the current days. I would like here to mention that President Al-Sisi has declared that that Egypt will do its all efforts to make it a successful conference, COP27, and it will be attended by high-profile figures and VIPs and political leaders, and we will witness that the other climate change will be held in Emirates will be COP28. Thank you for your kind listening. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Taqi. Now, we will leave the questions and answers till the end of the symposium. Now we'll move to Mr. Muhammad Khalfan Sawafi. He will talk to us about the current change and the attempts to shuffle the cards. The floor is yours, Mr. Muhammad. Yeah, thank you. At the beginning, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you, and I would like to welcome our dear guests to the symposium. I believe this is a very valuable and important symposium. My speech will be of two topics, and I will also mention some outcomes of my speech. It's around 15 minutes. I may not need all the 15 minutes, but I will talk about the current status. Of course, the first topic is a continuation of what Mr. Muhammad Taki has said is the current change. I mean the change current and attempts to shuffle the cards. I would like to highlight one point. This point of shuffling the cards is mastered by the Muslim Brotherhood over history. They have a long history with these games and the manipulation and shuffling the cards. They have the skills to stir up the Arab people to unclear objectives. They just have their hidden agenda. And in this moment, it might be clear that we are facing a new form of these hidden objectives and shuffling the cards. In my opinion, the main objective is to return to the political scene after all these, losses, and in Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, and other Arab countries, and even in the neighboring countries, they have faced a lot of losses and defeats. And however, at the end of the day, they are trying to return to the political scene. In my opinion, in the Muslim Brotherhood attempts to return to the political scene is just an attempt to shuffle the cards, and this attempt is a failure because they have their group ends finished completed. They are no longer exists for a lot of reasons you have just mentioned at the beginning of your speech. I think that the current attempts to return to political union as the Muslim Brotherhood is just saying the remaining parts of the body or the remaining attempts or the last breath of the body. So the change current, or what they say in two brackets, the people who follows Muhammad Kamal who established this trend, I think that they cannot stop being part of the Muslim Brotherhood, but they also provide services for the Muslim Brotherhood, but in a different way. My evaluation might be a point of difference by others. However, the idea might disappear, but it doesn't end at all, and we all know this. However, I would like to return to that Mr. Sakra said at the beginning that the people's incubation are no longer exists. The incubations that are found in the streets are no longer exist because they have lost the history. They have the 80 years their history. They have lost it. So I think that the group has lost a big part, I mean, a lot of their historical leaders, such as Al-Qaradawi and Ibrahim Munir. The first one, Al-Qaradawi, was the godfather or the religious part of, or the media part of the group, and Ibrahim Mir was the acting supreme guide or al-murshid for the group. And so when they lose these two historical leaders, it's a big loss for the group, and this will have serious impact on them. In addition to that, that the Muslim Brotherhood are really facing a real problems for the lack of proper, because the conflict between the leaders and the leaders in London and leaders in Istanbul. So the attempt to return to political scene is considered sort of impossibility. However, at the end of the day, we cannot confirm 100% that will not happen. Of course, they have their own attempts to return to the political scene that under the current status and the current isolation on the public level or the official level in the Arab countries, it is really difficult for them. Once again, I would like to mention that the point that mentioned by Mr. Muhammad Taqi. Why now? Why they insist on 1111? Now, if you'd like to underline and they shuffling the cards, they like to make use of the opportunities and utilize the opportunities. It's part of their tactics, and they are mastering this because they know how to choose the timing for two reasons. They choose this for two reasons: the current economic situation in Egypt, which is an international case, of course. It's not specifically for Egypt, and their attempt to depict the Egyptian government as if a failure government. And this is the result of the internal stirring up and internal protests because of the stringent and strong and very difficult living conditions in Egypt. So I think the Egyptian people in a whole, whether vertically or horizontally, will not accept to believe the Muslim Brotherhood or even accept the Muslim Brotherhood because they have believed them once and they turned out to be, they lost their trust in the Muslim Brotherhood. The second point is that, as Mr. Taqi said, the international point and the international timing, because all eyes are in and all interests and attention are in Egypt because they are holding the 27 COP conferences, and I think they believe that this point might benefit them. However, I think the current public awareness and the attention of the government units and other countries will not give them a chance to succeed in their attempts. And also, all the civil authorities and a lot of other organizations rejected to deal with them once again. So, either internal power or external powers, they don't have, and they are so it's a desperate attempt and it will not be successful. Of course, to summarize the situation comprehensively about the results, I don't think, from my point of view, that the results or the outcomes that I don't expect that the governments will face them, but also the people will be the first line of defense against the Muslim Brotherhood and the other and movements or other political Islam political Islam movements, if they try to return to the political scene once again. The second point, it's no longer that to deceive the people with, and no longer the Arab people are naive to believe in their promises. They have become aware of the falsehood of their promises, especially as we've seen what Libya, Syria, and Yemen, as a result that the people trusted these trends. So there is a big mistake and repetitive mistake for the Muslim Brotherhood. They keep repeating it. They cannot read the changes in the society, and I think they fail to read the changes in the society properly, and they couldn't read it properly and they have the ability to learn the lessons or absorb the Arab people or especially the Egyptian people and who will never accept them again. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Al Sawafi, for your valuable speech. And you said the word, and I also mentioned it, okay, to fight the ideas with ideas, to fight ideology with ideology. So it's our mission now to fight ideology with ideology. Now we'll move to Mr. Munir Adib. He will talk to us about the developments in the Muslim Brotherhood media scene after the launch of the two satellites, The People and Harak. Floor is yours. Thank you very much indeed for Mr. Sakrufo and for our dear colleagues, Mr. Muhammad Al Sawafi and Mr. Muhammad Taqi, and also our dear colleague, Mr. Diyar Ashwan, one of the founders of the researchers in in this field. And I would like to thank also Mr. Muhammad Abdullah Aili, the CEO of Trends, and all the organizers in Trends for their valuable efforts during the few years, for their valuable efforts that benefited researchers and followers and observers, as well as anyone observes the political landscape. As for the developments in the media scene of the Muslim Brotherhood after the launch of the two satellites, The People and Hirak, in fact, and I think from my point of view, is that we to be able to reread these developments, we should at the beginning know or understand that this reading will be under two concepts. The first concept is the relation of the group and the current status inside this group. And here we are talking about the current division inside and fragmentation inside the group, specifically over the last 2 years. And this division or fragmentation might reach to a bigger picture after the death of the acting supreme guide or acting Murshid Ibrahim Munir, and most of the researchers believe that this fragmentation or division will reach its utmost inside the front represented by Ibrahim Munir for a lot of reasons that we may not be able to mention now because it's away from the topic we're talking about. However, that the conflict of the internal bylaws of the Muslim Brotherhood, which have been a main topic for Ibrahim Munir, has went far away and has gone far away. And I think that their followers, his followers, will be able to use it with the anti-fronts and with the other fronts, whether Mahmoud Hussein or the public office of the Muslim Brotherhood, or those who just confronted the other three fronts and established another front, which is silent one and away from the three ones. And in my opinion, this one is cannot be less than the number of this front will not be less than the number of the other three fronts. However, this division or fragmentation will reach at most. When we talk about the two satellites, the people and Harak, for example, the People satellite has to do with the current division inside the Muslim Brotherhood. We have Al Sharq channel, which expresses the opinion in Muslim Brotherhood in Istanbul, specifically Mahmoud Hussein front. It has been closed under the possible approach and closeness between Egypt and Turkey. However, the Muslim Brotherhood, who represents Mahmoud Hussein's front, went to London to establish another channel that expresses their ideology and their conflict and dispute with the other fronts, Ibrahim Munir's, and second with the Egyptian state and the Egyptian people. Here, when I say that there is a conflict, internal conflict, it might have an impact on in the movement of this front from Turkey to London to establish this channel. Here, I believe, or I see, and this is my opinion, is that the current internal division in the group has impacted the media scene of the group one way or another. What happens about the People's channel, which has been already established and even broadcasted now, already happened also on Iraq 1111 and the Freedom channel as well, when the name of the channel has been changed This movement, this channel is the first satellite channel that has been attempted the first time in Lebanon, unlike what has been published in other media. And after that, in one way or another, one of the Arab countries managed to stop this streamlining and broadcasting before its start. So it has born dead. Then the Muslim Brotherhood, based on the provision and terms of the contract, according to it, Ayman Noor launched Al Sharq channel. This contract with Newtelsat, which Tunisian company, and based on the contract terms and conditions, they will have the right to have a satellite streaming for three other channels instead of Al Sharq channel in order to pay full $35,000. So Ayman Noor managed to make use of these terms and conditions and launched three channels, and accordingly he launched his own channel, which he changed its name from Harak to Freedom. The Muslim Brotherhood say that this channel, when its name was Hirak, eh, will be launched on one day to cover all these protests. So this strategy has changed. It has been changed when the name of the channel has changed, and they say it would be launched to benefit from the momentum that will be caused by 11/11, believing that there might be some people who will go on the streets and protesting during this day. This satellite has already been launched, but no one from the Egyptian people sees or watches it. And here, until this moment, and I'm telling the information that I have, there is a problem between the French company Telsat and Ayman Noor, and the channel has been officially suspended, and there is a legal claim between and the two parties, Ayman Noor and the French company, because this channel, nobody watches this channel because it was born dead, and it has been misbroadcast, and there's a lot of defamation for the broadcasting in Cairo. The Muslim Brotherhood said that they will launch a Telegram program, and then they changed it, that they said they will issue another channel on the mobile without having much details about the possibility of broadcasting, streaming such channel over mobiles. This is the information I currently have for the time being. This is for the current internal division of the group and their attempt to find a voice through which they can, each front can express their own opinions. So when we talk about the People channel, they expresses the front of Mahmoud Hussein in London. When you say Harak or Hurriya, it expresses the public office or the change current or the new chameleons, those who from which the militant militias has been established, and such as the public resistance and others movements, those who decided to use violence under the umbrella of the Muslim Brotherhood, under the pretext and false names of revolutionary attempts and movements and so on, where the Muslim Brotherhood cannot sustain them or cannot accept them, so they cannot connect between the Muslim Brotherhood and such violent groups. Actually, there is a relation between the Muslim Brotherhood and the violence in different levels. However, the other satellite channel, Hirak, expresses the opinion of the third front, which is the front of the change current. However, there are channels that expresses the opinion of these three fronts. These channels expresses the literature of the Muslim Brotherhood in general, away from the idea of division. And this might lead to the second point, which I would like to talk about, which is that these channels, all of these channels, if we would like to talk about Munir's front, they have another satellite channel, which is Al Hiwar channel, owned by Ibrahim Munir, and in other Al Watan. And in addition to that there is Al Jazeera satellite channel, uh, takes the sides of Ibrahim Munir and not Mahmoud Hussein. That is why Al Jazeera broadcasts all what fronts of Ibrahim Munir broadcasts. So this is evidently clear that the Al Jazeera has taken the side of Munir's front, whether the on the screen or those who works inside the channel. Why work inside these channels? I mean that the inside the channel, most of them are from Muslim Brotherhood, and they take the side of front of Ibrahim Munir. All of these satellites channels trying to makes the Egyptian or to destroy and destabilize the Egyptian state. So this is the in lump sum in general the current media scene of the Muslim Brotherhood. The must undoubtedly they have a problem in the media scene, and we can express another opinion of the founder of the group of the Mr. Hassan al-Banna. He established the Brent House, and since this date in 1928 and until now, they tried to establish tens and dozens of magazines, newspapers, and channels. They believe that their main battle is in media, and they cannot reach out the recipients or those who want to impact on them except through media, which might take the forms of in the mosques or newspaper or a channel or so. They never give up establishing a media platform for them. That is why I believe that they will continue establishing other platforms, new platforms other than the current one that they have already broadcast. And if we're talking about Iraq and people, for example, in my opinion and in my evaluation, that all these channels are born dead, as I said at the beginning of my speech, and it will never have an impact in the ground. These channels, if they have different names since 2013, however, the percentage of watching these satellites channels are very weak. And the most important point that their effect or impact are diminishing because the Muslim Brotherhood do not have a balanced media discourse. They are all the time taking sides and biases. And starting from 2013 until now, they try to spread hatred and grudge and calling for chaos and stirring up through these channels and following up with these when we watch these channels, we find the broadcasters and announcers. We listen to them. They call for, mutiny, going against the Egyptian government. So you never see except that calling bad names and their main objective is to destabilize the state. They want to go back to what they used to be, and I think the Egyptian people has a high level of awareness and maturity, and I think this level has significantly increased after 2013, and maybe after the Egyptian people went through a lot of experiences and such awareness make them able to analyze the media scene. Some of them may watch these watches but are not impacted with the contents of such channels. However, such channels do not have any impact on the Egyptian people. The question is why the Egyptian people trying to defame and making the defamation of these channels. It is logic. You are talking about active militants that are active in the Egyptian society after the outsetting of the modern brotherhood. So they receive also some support from inside the Muslim Brotherhood, and they still have relation with the Muslim Brotherhood. And when they establish a channel that calls for violence, that the Egyptian state might try to defame these channels so that nobody could listen or even watch it, because these channels do not provide balanced media discourse or discussions. They only call for chaos. It's a media platform that is not less than other platforms launched by ISIS and Al Qaeda. Here they provide a secure place for groups that has been established around the Muslim Brotherhood, not inside but around the Muslim Brotherhood, and they might be more violent groups. That is why the Muslim Brotherhood, through this media platform, try to provide the secure and rich environment for such violent groups. So that is why the Egyptian state tried to stop this attempt. You have one last minute, Mr. Cairo is well aware and watching the current situation, and I think Mr. Rashwan will talk to us about this issue for establishing other channels that expresses the opinion of the state and confront such extremist discourse and content by such Muslim Brotherhood satellite channels. For example, Cairo channel, the News Cairo channel, and other channels. The main purpose is not to take sides, and to provide a balanced discourse and provide a content that confront these ideas spread by those groups and movements, whether their platforms or other uh, alternative platform such as YouTube and other one. Now I can't. I think these channels, that the one that's created and established by the state, are very effective. It might be a security valve against what has been broadcasting by the Muslim Brotherhood media and satellite channels. Thank you once again for God listening. Thank you. Now we listen to Mr. Dia Rashwan, the head of the State Information Service. He will talk to us about the Muslim Brotherhood and its attempts to stir up the Egyptian streets demonstration on 11/11. Mr. Dia Rashwan, the floor is yours. Thank you, Mr. Sak, for your for Trends Center, and the CEO of Trends Center as well, and all organizers of this event, and our dear colleagues Muhammad Al Sawafi and Mr. Muhammad Taqi, my dear friend Munir Adib. I'm very pleased to listen to my fleet. Let's start my speech by commenting on the title. The Muslim Brotherhood attempts to stir up the Egyptian street. This title is a new title for me. The Muslim Brotherhood, starting for 1920, it attempts to have a movement strategy. And let's say, and demonstration was not part of their strategy. It was far away from their strategy. And demonstration where the Muslim Brotherhood participates in the last 10 years against the ex-president Mr. Muhammad Hosni Mubarak has a ceiling. They cannot exceed such limits. So actually, the Muslim Brotherhood might have participated with some other groups in some demonstrations. However, their ceilings or limits, either a time limit or a topic limits. So if the issue exceeds such limits or their interests, they withdraw themselves from such demonstrations. So the idea of stirring up the Egyptian street is a new idea that has emerged after January 2011. So, however, demonstrations and referring and refusing to the public was not within their strategy. So they preferred to move amongst some of the simple and poor categories of people, or who accept their assistance. But to go on streets demonstrating and participating in demonstration was not known in their strategy or their history, and since their establishment. When this happened, it never happened even in January Revolution in 25th of the 20 January of 2011, where the the revolutionary powers attempt for calling for demonstrations, the Muslim Brotherhood officially reject and refuse to participate in these demonstrations. And when some of the youngest of Muslim Brotherhood practice pressures, they also issued an official statement against such demonstrations. The late Isam al-Arian has issued such statements. So this is the corner point. The Muslim Brotherhood do not go on demonstration except that they are confident of the results. In 25th of January, they were not confident of the results. However, in 25th, 26th, and 28th, they were forced and pressured to participate in demonstration because they were also aware and secured of and confident of the results. And the Muslim Brotherhood is a big organization, has followers and supporters in every part of the Egyptian state. So after 28th January 2011, so they were clear up in the streets. What has to do with the current situation? This is not the first time to call for 11/11. In 2016, they called for demonstrations on the same day. It seems that the rhyme scheme is what the Ikhwan or the Muslim Brotherhood likes. So this is also confirms that they have their own old and not updated traditions and customs. So they have 11, 12, 13, 14th. However, the Muslim Brotherhood still can adhere and confident that such rhyme scheme might help. When the Friday day has coincided with this date, 11/11, which is the sign of Rab'a, it has a rhyme scheme, 11/11. So even the demonstration after the Friday prayer, because the Friday prayer is different nowadays from the Friday prayers in the previous times. So, is the Muslim Brotherhood were existing in 11/11 and 11/12? So the answer no. There is no Muslim Brotherhood unit that calls for officially for demonstration this time, and not even in the previous times, and except in some of their forwards. In other words, that the Muslim Brotherhood, for the reason for they contempt and the public opinion and their fear of failure, they didn't attempt to call for demonstration 11/11 in 2016 or 11/11 in 2022 and left the situation to their accessories or their accessory parties. You can't. So those who accessory parties are the ones that calls for 11/11. Mr. Munir referred to some and I refer to others, but the Muslim Brotherhood do not want to get involved in any activity that they know that it will fail. So in their attempts that raised by Mr. Munir Adib, the Muslim Brotherhood, when they start the national dialogue in Egypt, there is no objection from the Muslim Brotherhood. They wanted to participate. However, the clear cut rejection comes from the Egyptian state. So here comes the call from late Ibrahim Munir that the Muslim Brotherhood should give up the political conflict. In my opinion, the Muslim Brotherhood are passing through not a new crisis. This new crisis is a common phrase. This time is not just any kind of crisis. It's the end of the Muslim Brotherhood itself. And it is evidently clear because of the current divisions inside the group. It has been, a lot of divisions inside the group starting from 1954 and other dates. And during some other guides or supreme guides, murshids like Mr. Sheikh Said Sabiq and Al Hudaybi. However, the division is not only internally, but the Ikhwaniyya ideology has been destroyed because of when the Muslim Brotherhood came to power. So it was their dreams over the last 80 years to reach power and to come to power and seize power. But when their dream came true, and they become ruler and they just take charge of the situation in Egypt, their their dreams turned into a nightmare and they fail. And even during the honeymoon months between them and the government of, but in 2013 they have seen another face of the Egyptian people. It's not the participation of 10,000 or a few thousand, it was millions and all the units and organization of the states. So the destruction of the Muslim Brotherhood project at this time doesn't mean that this time it is just a normal crisis. It's more dangerous than this. The divisions inside the one and their, hesitance. 11 makes them in this situation in this time, and they will remain. If there is a consistent Egyptian people's will, they will still in this only space, which is close to a marginal space, and their desperate attempts to return to the political situation will not find its way through the public and the Egyptian people, and the Muslim Brotherhood violence failed in all its attempts. And that's why the Muslim Brotherhood has only but to make maneuvers and to make it for them. And when talked about Dr. Muhammad, and this wing consistent and is compliant and needs to continue its violent activity. There is a historical hesitance among the Muslim Brotherhood. It returned to its the original history in 1954 and 1975. 20 years where there is no any kind of change. So they have their external freezing ability. So from 1954 to 1974, they have been under freezing. Now they are under complete confinement, and they are facing a real problem. They have 10 years of external freezing where they cannot go out, they cannot wake up because of fear of their complications, but their ability to convince people to join the group, specifically in certain sectors such as the universities and schools. So they lost their ability in these units. So this group, in my opinion, refused to the media or tries to use the media platforms. And even so far, as Mr. Munir said, the media, we do not have a clear-cut Muslim Brotherhood satellite channels or media platforms. We have only one Muslim Brotherhood channel. For the others channels or on YouTube is the accessory parts or accessory followers of the Muslim Brotherhood. They just believe in their ideology and implement their objectives politically. However, they might have an impact on the street tradition for some time. However, because of the criminal features of this Muslim Brotherhood's media platform, because of the false propaganda and misinformation and misrepresentation, and this all false information, they lost their abilities through. And this is the only, so the only one is the only available tool now is for the Muslim Brotherhood is to stir up the Egyptian street for demonstration on 11/11. From my opinion, even during that day itself, they will not go on themselves. They just depend on the attempts and not the public awareness, because there is no leaders among the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood that can go on the streets and call people and stir people on the streets. They're still waiting for, and they want, and they really seek to have a reconciliation with the Egyptian state and the society in Egypt. However, currently the Egyptian state cannot make such attempt because this is totally against the Egyptian society. Thank you for your kind listening. Thank you, Mr. Diyar Ashwan, for your valuable speech. I have four questions now. I give the floor for the open talk. I'll start with Mr. Muhammad Taqi. So each one will have one questions, and you have 2 minutes to answer these questions. Mr. Muhammad, what is the most important mechanism that could be adopted by the Muslim Brotherhood to return back to the political scene. So, what are these mechanisms from your opinion? At the beginning of my speech, I would like to thank my dear colleagues and my dear brothers and speakers with me. And I would like to add to what Mr. Swan has said. Egypt currently is just in the recreation time from the ruling of Muslim Brotherhood and strengthening and enhancing the national dialogue that will strengthen the national will of the Egyptian people who, who has become well aware of the falsehood of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is divided into two parts. The first part is the Qutb one, which is a follower of Sayyid Qutb, who are the extremists, and his famous book, Milestones on the Road, Ma'alim Fit Tariq. So they do not use this one except when they are power, and when they are weak, they refer to the second trend, which Hassan al-Banna trend, which is balance between moderateness and the extremism. So it's a tactical approach. So, and this message raised by Mr. Hassan al-Banna when the Muslim Brotherhood in its perspective in the Salafism and Sufism and sports and so on, and whoever do not follow them just make him a treasoner or a deceiver. So I think that the deaths of the historical leaders and top leaders will have serious impacts on the Muslim Brotherhood. And as Mr. Said said that they are not in the weakness stage; they are in the end stage. And in the Arab states, there has become well awareness among the Arab people, and even the Egyptian people has become well aware of the failure of the Muslim Brotherhood when they were in charge of the Egyptian states and their ability to lead and plan and so on. And the Muslim Brotherhood lacks, statesmen and the qualified leaders and the discourse and their approach. So the Muslim Brotherhood is still manipulating the emotions and shuffling the cards. So ethically, the Muslim Brotherhood ended. So I think 11/11 is just normal date for any normal Egyptian people lives in the Egyptian state, and the Corona challenges, the Russian-Ukrainian war challenges. There are other challenges and important issues for the Egyptian people other than 11/11. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Taqi. We move to the question to Mr. Muhammad Khalfan al-Sawafi. Undoubtedly, the Muslim Brotherhood is very dangerous on the Arab and Islamic society. How we can confront this group ideologically? Ideologically, I think this is fighting an ideology with ideology is the best weapon, and I think this is the best thing is that is carried out. This is one side. From one side, from one side to raise awareness among the people and to raise awareness among the Arab people and all the Arab governments focusing on this. And there is no gap left for the Muslim Brotherhood that can use. And if there is a vacuum in the previous stages and previous times for spreading awareness among peoples, and to satisfy their needs, where the Muslim Brotherhood used to work in this field. I think all the Arab governments managed to bridge all these gaps, and there is no gaps for the Muslim Brotherhood. So, fighting an ideology with ideology, so your friends, you can do it if you can, and you can, and if you can, so the trends and the continuous warning against the Muslim Brotherhood, I think this is one of the most important topic. I think curriculum, think tanks, research centers, they should all carry out their roles and responsibilities. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Al-Sawafi. Third question is for Munir Adib. In your opinion, Mr. Munir, what is the actual strength of the group on the ground under the death of its top leaders? Do you think that there is actual strength for the group? Do you hear me, Mr. Munir? Yes. Yes, I can hear you. I think, from my opinion, is that although that the group is still still exists in more than 80 states, and the lifetime of the group is 100 years, and it is available and exists in 80 states, Arab and non-Arab states. So this is considered sort of a strength, but from my point of view, but this big group or this big body that extends over 80 states is now moveless. It has now, it's on the ICU or the artificial breathing units. The group now has aged, and this big body and this big number, which you might like the idea or the group. Yes. um, and that is why there might be sources of power for the group, and the main source of the group is the actual organization. The group is still making use of the ideas of the founder of the group and the organization structure made by the group. We have two problems if we want to face and confront the Muslim Brotherhood and other extremist groups. It is to face the group, deconstruct the group, and then deconstruct the founding ideologies and ideas, which is most important than in any other step. So it's also clear that dealing and handling such hierarchical group or this structure, which is founded by the founder and other supreme guides, is not a weak structure. It might benefited from it, other organizations over history. So, from my opinion, also that the Egyptian states facing such a group and in other Arab countries managed to deconstruct the structure of this group. Except now we have this to deconstruct the ideas, the founding ideas of the group. So what is the source of strength of the Muslim Brotherhood? I can say that we didn't exert all the efforts required to deconstruct the founding ideas, and this might need a lot of spaces for the renewal of the cultural dialogue and culture and religious talk and so on, where we do need to deconstruct the founding ideas of the Muslim Brotherhood. And I think a lot of institutions work on this, including trends ideas. Thank you very much. Shukran. Thank you very much. Now I move to the last question for Mr. Dia Rashwan. Mr. Dia Rashwan, each now and then we hear about reconciliation. Do you think that the Egyptian state might go for reconciliation with the Muslim Brotherhood? Let me answer this question. I'll start also from 11/11. We'll not look back into it. 11/11 in 2016, the Muslim Brotherhood called for demonstrations, and their accessory followers. Demonstration last time are based on what? What are they based for? Based on stirring up the difficult conditions of difficult social conditions of the people and social challenges. It because the people and these social conditions are too much, and the main category of the Ikhwan and their accessory followers, they do not talk politics, they talk about sociology, because no, the people do not go for politics, they go for social issues. So they focus on social issues. What happened previously? What happened in the previous times? It was also 11/11 on Friday. On the 3rd of November, the states issued for the floating of the Egyptian pound and all that the complication of such a decision economically. So the Egyptian pound dropped around from 100%. This time, what happened? The Muslim Brotherhood called for a demonstration on 11/11. So the state went for the third floating of the Egyptian pound in the 7th of October. So the message is that we'll not go for reconciliation. And the Egyptian state places, I know, a concept about the state and certain state that the movement of the state will go on regardless of any calls of any type and would not have an impact on us. These indicators are clear that the Muslim Brotherhood are on the margin of the political game. And when you mention reconciliation, if we might use this term, with whom will have reconciliation? Who is there? We have a conflict and dispute to go for reconciliation, and who we are afraid of so that we can make reconciliation. We have bloodshed between us and the Muslim Brotherhood, between the Egyptian state and the Muslim Brotherhood. There's a lot of people who are killed by the hands of the Muslim Brotherhood. We have more than 3,000 martyrs, and we have bloodshed between. So what is the use of reconciliation with the Muslim Brotherhood, and what damage might we have because of non-reconciliation with the Muslim Brotherhood? The answer in the two answers, there is no interest, and there is no blood, and there is no fear from. So reconciliation with the Muslim Brotherhood, so they think that they might have a existence there. This is false information, and will never have. And to have Egyptian citizens who might be Muslim Brotherhood and are not part of this group, or maybe they have been part of this and went away from that. So my answer is not. There is no reconciliation in the short term, as far as I could tell. Thank you, Mr. Ashwan. I would like to re-thank you once again, Mr. Mohammed Taqi, a political analyst and journalist in UAE, Mohammed Khalfan al-Sawafi, researcher and writer in UAE, Mr. Munir Adib, researcher specialist in extremism movement and international terrorism, and Mr. Diar Shan, head of State Information Service, Egypt. Once again, thank you, and we would like to see you once again. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable speech. Thank you.